This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. It's a new year, so you know what that means. That means a new season. It's season 4. Intro a little revamped, microphone a little revamped, branding a little revamped. We're now officially the Pass BT pod. So welcome all Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and all podcast platforms. Here you're going to get a flavor of sports, music, tech, video games. Once in a while, we'll get an Ass of the Week and a new part that's going to be coming in. It's not mentioned on the season 3, but we do what's called Pass the Message. So definitely you want to tune in and get some good content on the Pass with your host BT. What is up? What's going on? Episode 305 of The Pass is here. I am your host, BT. I will be clear and concise in saying I'm finally back to somewhat of a format and a routine. But, of course, right when you're about to get a routine in place, things happen. And y'all know usually whenever I record or whenever I share stuff, I try to be pretty clear and concise in what is or isn't going on. And with this episode, it won't be any exception. So I'll do that. I'll do as they call it, the housekeeping first, and then we'll get into the show. So first and foremost, I will make everyone aware that the last few, I guess you could say, weeks, I've been in semi-transition with the way things have not been going for what I've been planning on doing. So I've initially, if any of you know, I do work. I'm not going to put my business as far as where I work, but I will say that I work in the daytime. I have now changed it so that I will be working in the evenings, which will now open up a door for me being able to do some more shows or get shows recorded in the day, which can lead to me editing in the evening or editing in my, earlier the following day, things of that nature. So that's going to help give you all more content, right? So I want to be sure that I'm being, like I've been, I would say in the last few weeks, getting a better flow of actually getting shows recorded and shows uploaded. Because I know at first it was, okay, I'm going to get a show up. But then by the time it's recording or it's time to record, I'm like, oh shoot, I haven't done a show. And I can feel the difference in not doing shows. And the toughest part, I know personally from experience with recording, is that once you reach that point of not recording for a while, you're trying to pull and grab for articles or pull and grab for stories. And I personally don't like doing that, especially with the way I've been putting my best foot forward as far as recording and getting content on this. So with all of that being said, I hope you all have been enjoying the shows. Still, I know we're 5 episodes past 300, but it's still an amazement or a shock in all that I've been able to do this and keep it going for 300 episodes. So if you've been rocking with me, whether it was episode 1, episode 100, episode 200, you could have came after 300 for all I'm concerned. I'm glad that you've been able to take time and listen and see, as I would call it, the evolution of the recordings. And I've had conversations with people about this, and I think I've talked about it on the show. Learning to think, to be more thought-provoking in what I'm doing, but not putting as much energy into thinking, has been helpful with getting me to where I am. And what I mean by that is whenever I pull up the program as far as getting my shows uploaded and recorded, or just not even the uploading, just the process of actually sitting down and doing the recording, getting to that point of hitting record and talking, it's all a free-for-all. Like a lot of times I sit and I say to y'all, like, yeah, I have these topics and I have tabs, but a lot of times the tabs are kind of like just guided pieces for me to kind of see or get a general idea of where I'm going or what I'm saying. But in theory and in truth, I mostly know what I'm going to talk about or what I have the intention of truly saying or sharing to you all as listeners. And that's, at the end of the day, that's mainly what people are here for, is to make sure that I actually have like a general or basic idea of what I'm planning to talk about or what I intend to share as a podcaster. So, and it sucks because I'm sitting here doing this, but then I'm on a site that is being funny. So we're gonna start, and I love technical difficulties because when they happen, you just gotta go along with the flow, which is what I'm gonna do. So when you have lemons, you make lemonade. I am going to return back to my tradition because I want to say probably for the last few episodes, I've removed or reduced the angel numbers, and that's not normal of me, but sometimes when you are feeling where you feel or you going where you go, you just kind of say, you know what, I'm just going to do what I feel is in my best interest. And that's kind of where I'm at with what I'm doing now. So as you all know, since this is episode 305, we will do the angel number for 305. Self-expressions fondly associated with angel number 305. This is a sign saying you should speak more, talk more, express your needs and wants much more than you currently do. You may be in a situation that may be at work and you feel like people are walking on top of you. Express yourself on what you want and need in a respectful and polite manner. In other words, be impeccable with your word. And I've shared that on the show multiple times, how important it is to really, as the saying goes, use and choose your words wisely. Personal freedom is mostly associated with angel number 305. Do not be afraid to explore. Do not be reserved that you miss out on having fun with yourself. Angel number 305 symbol is a sign that you need to be more open, especially when around people. Freedom is not worrying about what people will say or think. This is very important to a person, especially for growth. Potential may come in your life as often as never. Angel number 305 is a sign that the potential that is in front of your eyes right now and should be taken and invested on immediately. You may see a business that you're thinking may not flourish soon, but your spirit angel's message to you is that every opportunity has potential. The angel numbers are encouraging you not to ignore each and every opportunity that you may get because all opportunities have potential. You may relate to a different element from what your sun and sign Virgo element is. Blah, blah, blah. And I always love how they always put these in out of order, but whatever. The number 5 in angel number 305 speaks of motivation and self-belief. The angels believe that when you surround yourself with motivated people, participating in motivating activities, nothing can hold you back. Even when things do not work out, what sees you through the moments is this inspiration. Speak positively to yourself as you echo this through your actions. Angel number 0 and number 3 show that every good thing that is currently happening in your life is not by chance. You deserve all the pleasures and pleasantries of this world because the angels recognize that you have worked hard. Angel number 305 wants you to continue with the momentum of consistency in your life and keep your head up at all times. Angel number 305 is a sign that even as you are experiencing lots of changes, you are not alone. The angels will always be there to protect you, and every time you call upon them, God will always answer you. So I'm going to briefly get into this, and then we'll get into our topics. I want to make something very clear, and this is something that I've even been forced to learn the last few, I guess you could say the last few years. And I'll say, I'm saying the last few years, but realistically, this hit home for me probably within the last week or so, or the last couple weeks. If you are in the mind space of a said person, let's say you're trying to become a podcaster, you should be, and you're beginning podcasting, you should be finding other people who are doing podcasting. And I've been very emphatic in saying this to people because whenever I hear or whenever anyone comes to me and they say, hey, I want to do podcasting, or they're looking at podcasting, I give the simplest question of importance. Have you listened to or checked other podcasts out before really doing podcasting? Most of the time, the answer I get is no, which is understandable because it's all about you making time or wasting time, which we talked about on the episode, following Chadwick Boseman's passing. How important it is if you're taking time into investing in yourself and learning about podcasting, or if you're wasting time doing other things that aren't related to that thing that you're doing. Majority of the people or the majority of the brands that I began to follow lately have been related to blogging, Bujo or bullet journaling, podcasting, graphic and web design, UI, UX design, drawing, art, all of those things that I'm beginning to give a chance or give a go towards doing. If you say that you want to be in this state, then you got to follow folks that's in that state. Now, that also means that it can be an even broader scope of saying, all right, you're looking to become an entrepreneur or you want to start your own business. It's an interesting thing to look at now because growing up, we would hear the word entrepreneurship or people being entrepreneurs, but we didn't understand what it meant because you're just hearing it but not seeing it be like what it takes to become an entrepreneur. Now that I'm beginning to build that entrepreneur foundation and building upon getting clients and learning how to design, I've found myself networking more often with people who are starting businesses or who have a business. And that doesn't mean that their business has to necessarily be graphic or web design, because in the reality, I'm not expecting another designer to say, hey, let me help you with getting clients for designing that they are already working with, unless it's coming down to, hey, you're looking to get started. Let me give you some tips and some pointers on how to really get your business out there to other people that you're a designer or you're a creative. And I've seen lately, on top of the business connections, it's also been I've connected a lot closer with others who are creatives or people who are creating. It is something that you have to open your mind to and really push past where you are with what you're doing. And that's what this angel number reading entailed and brought up the importance of, because we really don't want to, if we want to do better or get better in our lives, we can't expect that by following Judy or old girl or old boy and looking at what he's doing, what suit he wore today or what two-piece bathing suit she wore in the fall. It's not benefiting you in that regard. So those are things to just look at and keep an eye out for when you're really trying to make what you love or what you value doing a real thing. And again, like I'm emphasizing this because it's something to really look at. You have to know when it's time for you to do it, and when it's time for you to do your thing or make that thing be your moment. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I really don't want to sound preach heavy today because it could turn that direction easily. But I wanted to at least talk about that before I go into our actual topics this week. So last time And it's, wow, we're that behind? I did not realize that. So this is the first episode since week 4 of me doing weekly picks. I don't know why I missed 5 and 6. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. The last week of matches that I picked was week 4. And during that week, I actually did better than I expected. I went 10-4. Overall, my record is 29-16-1. The one draw was between Philadelphia and I think Cincinnati. So we're hoping that this week should be a good week. We've had some weird games come up the last couple weeks, and I'm going to kind of be bringing you forward, taking you back a couple of times to kind of make it a little more enticing. But this is gonna be what it is. For our picks for week 8, first up will be the Thursday night game between Atlanta and Carolina. I'm picking Carolina, not just because they're my team, but I think Carolina's the better of the two. Going into your Sunday matchups, which I'm guessing they might be earlier. Well, no, they're going to be played at 12 instead of 1, which is going to be interesting. So for the first matchup, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Early call of game of the week. I would normally be quick to say Baltimore, but I mean Pittsburgh is undefeated. They're the only unbeaten team remaining right now. I'm gonna pick Pittsburgh for that game. New England at Buffalo. Normally in regular circumstances, I would easily pick New England. Cam did not score a touchdown in their last matchup, and Buffalo, they're 5-2. So I'm gonna pick Buffalo for this game. Tennessee at Cincinnati. Tennessee is fighting for a lottery pick again, and where they go with this lottery pick is going to be interesting. But I know this is only week 8. I'm not pushing the button and saying, "Hey, relax." So it's a problem, but you just gotta look at the season for what it is. But I'm going to pick Tennessee for this game. Las Vegas at Cleveland. Side note, funny story. One of the guys in the sports group that I run, a Space to Sport on Facebook, if you are interested in wanting to join, he pointed out how the Browns were able to pull off like a last second miracle win, which, hey, a win is a win in their case. And I mean, being 5-2 is big. We're going to get into the Browns a little bit later about a story. You may know about it, but I'll share that in a moment. That story is probably why I'm on the fence about picking Cleveland. So I'm going to probably get a lot of grief for this, but I'm picking Las Vegas for that game. Colts at Lions, picking the Colts. Lions they've been a solid force this year, but I'm going to pick Indianapolis. Minnesota at Green Bay. If this was last season and it was the Minnesota we saw then, I would easily pick Minnesota, but Green Bay there's not much Green Bay hasn't done right this year. There it is. So Green Bay, I'm going to pick for that one. Jets at Chiefs. We'll pick the Chiefs and move on. There's not much to say about that. LA Rams against the Dolphins. I think this is going to be Tua's official first start. Correct me if I'm wrong, if any of my sports fans are listening or do catch this before then. I'm going to pick the Rams for that one. Chargers at Broncos. Both teams 2-4. I haven't really been seeing much from either team that's like ooh or ah or an exciting factor. I'm going to pick the Chargers. I think Tyrod Taylor should be playing now. I remember we did the story about the punctured lung, but as far as I'm aware, I'm going to pick the Chargers for that one. New Orleans at Chicago. Another possible game of the week. And we are in our 305 or our evening, our late games. I'm actually going to pick Chicago for this one. I like Khalil Mack, and let's be clear, it's not me sitting here saying, oh, it's because Tampa Bay, it's because New Orleans is playing and you want to see them lose. No, I like New Orleans' chances this year. New Orleans right now, if I'm really looking at the division, is New Orleans and Tampa Bay. They're kind of running away with the division. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams get into the playoffs. And I know that's an early prediction, but that's me just looking at how the season has played out so far. San Fran at Seattle. Seattle's been unstoppable this year. And I know that's like a tall term or a strong way of putting it, but Seattle's played pretty good football. Late night game, Dallas against Philly. As you all are aware, Dak is out for the rest of the year. Dalton, they have not given an update, but he did get a concussion. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play. For concussion and cordial respect, I would hope that they sit him, but I'm also not in a position to make that decision of where or if he would play. But I'm going to pick Philly for that game. And our Monday night game, Tampa Bay at the Giants, I'm picking Tampa Bay. Not really much else to say on that one. I will say this. There was a story or there was some information that I did see where they were saying that Brady, since the early struggle, the team has been 4-1. I think they went like 0-2 or something like that. And they basically have, since their first couple of losses, they've kind of turned it around and it's like, okay, we here. Let's show y'all we can play. And I mean, if you always look at it and call it for what it is, you know any team that has Brady as a quarterback is always a concern. We've learned that year after year with the Patriots. And that's not me turning into the Brady or Pat stan at all. That's just calling it what it is. Because if that was the case, I would have picked the Patriots to beat Buffalo, which I don't see happening. Before I get into the other football stories, I do want to say congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They did win the World Series in 6 games. They were able to win it 4-2. They won Game 6, I believe, 3-1. There was a big controversy. Well, I guess you can call it not big, but somewhat of a concern as to why the manager of the Rays pulled their pitcher in the 6th inning when he was kind of getting into a good groove. And there was, wonders and concerns of how that would go. A story did break that one of the players who tested positive for the Dodgers was still on the field celebrating with the team, after that confirmation. He tested positive and they had him out there holding a pennant. And I'm just like, this is how we're not practicing social distancing. This is how cases are increasing. Whole another conversation of a podcast. But that's neither here nor there. Continuing with football, this story did hit airwaves, I would say last Friday, that Antonio Brown is with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He will be making his debut not this week, but the following week against the New Orleans Saints. They wanted to complete a deal that would bring him back to play with Tom Brady. The Seahawks were in the mix before Brown had reached an agreement. The Bucs have been banged up at the wide receiver position. Mike Evans has been playing on an injured ankle since week 4 and hasn't been able to practice. Chris Godwin just returned from a hamstring injury, and deep threat Scotty Miller has been limited by a groin or hip injury. Brady have been pushing for the Bucs to sign Brown since the summer. Brady took Brown under his wing during Brown's brief tenure in New England last season, on and off the field. The two had immediate on-field chemistry. Brown had 4 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown in a 43-0 win over the Dolphins in their first game together. As it turned out, it was their only game together, as Brown was released later in the week. And this was back last season. This wasn't this year. I'm not going to really read this article. I'm just going to... I'll say this. If Antonio Brown can play like his head is in the game, then I'm okay with this deal. Now, I'm saying it with that preface only because Antonio Brown has moments and times where he Antonio Browns the game. He doesn't, and it's not that he doesn't know better. He just is accustomed to doing it his way and thinks his way is working. And I always remember, or I always find myself bringing it back to this statement because it's something to really look at. No player in the NFL is bigger than the shield. You can say whatever you want. You can argue it. You can battle me on it. I'm okay with that. But no player is bigger than the shield. And Antonio Brown was trying to get into that space, but also was becoming more of a nuisance than a benefit to the game. And we were starting to see that. And that's what made a lot of the decisions for the NFL to be, all right, we're tired of this. He's getting on our nerves. He gotta go. Like, everything he did last season almost had me concerned as to whether he would play this season. And I think it was even a conversation we may have had in the sports group, I don't remember, as to who was going to come back first between him and Kaepernick. And I was like, Brown has a chance. He could play again. I don't have an article shared for this, but Des Bryant has been invited and will be playing for the Baltimore Ravens practice squad, which to a lot of people is like, well, I mean, it's just a practice squad. But if he can get on the practice squad, show he still can play, and produce to his best potential, where they could, solidly use him during the regular season and or possible playoff run, why not? It's worth the risk. It's worth the chance. A tragic story or tragic news broke from last week's games. Odell Beckham was injured. He tore his ACL in his left knee. They initially weren't sure how bad the injury was, but it was concerned that he'll likely be out for the remainder of this season, and he could possibly be out for next season as well. If you have or have not been keeping up with Odell has been fighting with injuries year after year. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he was injured too much last season with the Browns, but I know it was a year he was with the Giants and he got like a very insane injury that affected his, the rest of that year. So I'm wishing him well in his, a healthy and speedy recovery. And I mean, if you say whatever you want, or you can present however you feel, like, he's one of the best wide receivers we're watching in football right now. Like, it was, you talk about the Larry Fitzgerald, you talk about the Julio Jones. The name that's coming up lately has been DK Metcalf. OBJ comes up in that conversation. You have to kind of look at how nice he is. When Antonio Brown comes back, give me 3 or 4 weeks of watching him play. If you can make 3 or 4 weeks, then I'll come back to you and see what he's, if he's in that combo of he's a quarterback. I mean, he's a wide receiver that is doing his piece. Like, when he was in Pittsburgh, I think after he left Pittsburgh, he was never the same. And that's interesting for me to say that, especially with Antonio Brown being 32. They probably don't show it in this article, but I'm hoping they do. Because Odell Beckham is pretty young. I don't even think. I'm trying to think if he's even 32. Yeah, okay. So they shared this in this article too. Odell Beckham Jr. played 43 out of a possible 48 games in his first 3 NFL seasons. But his torn ACL cost him in the rest of this year. Beckham will have played only 39 out of 64 games over the past 4 seasons. Which that has got to be a tough, a tough impact on your mental. Odell's only 30. I mean, only 37. He's only 27 years old. So I mean, in football years, he's ahead of his, well ahead. I mean, I think right now the biggest question and the biggest concern is just getting a fully healthy Odell. And I mean, we've talked about this in the sports group, and it's something that I began to really pay attention to too. more players have been getting like season-ending injuries this year with the pandemic. A lot of it, in my opinion, is that there weren't as many preseason workouts. There wasn't as much OTA action that we saw before. And that does have a tendency or can possibly draw about a heightened concern. And that's really the best I can give on that. So that's all I got for sports stuff. I went in the archive for a story, and the other ones are kind of just like quick hits that have caught my attention. And we'll get into some music sesh. No ass of the week this week, and I will get to a pass the message when I get to that point. Google has joined the rebranding committee. They're thinking that this is done or was done in the possibility of bringing Google Plus to life, but I doubt it. But there has been a presentation done of showing the apps for Google all getting a facelift. Now, before I go too far into this story, because I wonder if the update just may not even happen. And they may have it, I probably just never paid any attention. But it has, my bad. So I use the program, if any of you have or have not heard of this, Kiwi is probably one of my favorite apps to ever use for emails and just planning as a whole. I use Kiwi, and this is not a paid sponsorship or promo. This is just me talking about what has worked. I've used the Gmail client itself for over 15 years. Wow. Looking back and thinking about it, it's been over 15 years, if not longer. I say all of that to say it's good to have a program that has all of your emails and you can access all of them at one time. Kiwi has been that program. But I mentioned Kiwi for the simple fact that I look at what the program, I wanted to open it up just to see if the changes to Gmail and Google Calendar have changed, and they have. What you see within the programs, like if you're using it on your phone, if you're using it on your computer, if you're using it on the tablet, that has not changed. What has changed are the icons. The icons are now getting into a synchronous look. And I'm in an African American graphic design group, and a lot of people in the group are not big fans of it at all. Because it does become a change, which I actually understand as far as integrating these images or designs into your logos, or finding that way to box yet unbox yourself from the green, yellow, red, blue hue known as Google. So for more than a decade, we've been building products to help people, and this is from Google Cloud's website itself. We've been building products to help people transform the way they work. Now work itself is transforming in unprecedented ways. For many of us, work is no longer a physical place we go to, and interactions that used to take place in person are being rapidly digitized. Office workers no longer have impromptu discussions at the office machine, at the coffee machine, or while walking to meetings together, and instead have turned their homes into workspaces. Frontline workers, from builders on a construction site to delivery specialists, keeping critical supply chains moving, are turning to their phones to help get their jobs done. With their communities are accelerating. While doctors treating patients and local government agencies engaging with their communities are accelerating how they can use technology to deliver their services. I will promise I know how to speak English. Amidst this transformation, time is more fragmented, split between work and personal responsibilities, and human connections are more difficult than ever to establish and maintain. These are unique challenges, but they also represent a significant opportunity to help people succeed in this highly distributed an increasingly digitized world with the right solution in place, people are able to collaborate more easily, spend time on what matters most, and foster human connections no matter where they are. That solution is Google Workspace. Everything you need to get anything done now in one place. Google Workspace includes all of the productivity apps you know and love. Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides, Meet, and many more. Whether you're returning to the office, working from home, on the front lines with your mobile device, or connecting with customers, Google Workspace is the best way to create, communicate, and collaborate. And I'm not gonna I don't need to read this article word for word, but I will share this instead. I noticed a few days ago that the Gmail logo had changed. Didn't think anything of it. Wasn't sure. I was like, okay, maybe they're doing it's Google, as most brands are doing. They're going to do a rebrand. Which, by the way, I did see Fiverr's silent but smart rebrand. They're now implementing it so you can see the FI for Fiverr. If you have seen the icon for it, you'll know what I mean. But anyway, I saw the Gmail change and I was like, oh, okay, they're doing a new look. And I was like, well, let me do some research and look this up. And like I said, this article is from October the 6th. So when I was looking that up, I found that, and then I checked a little bit further, and then I saw, I then went on to see Google Calendar was changing their look. So now all of the apps that are under the Google umbrella, I don't think I have it on this phone, but I don't have Google Docs as an actual app itself. But I do have Google Drive on my phone, because I personally do, and it's one of those things that I'm more than likely going to just go ahead and, I won't even say kick the bucket, but utilize the platform of having all those apps, because it is resourceful and it's good to have just in case you're on the go, especially with me now writing and creating as much as I am with my tablet or with my phone, to just say, hey, I got the Google Docs and I can write this up real quick and have it in the event that I need to get the WordPress, or I need to jot an idea down. Even though I'm always, as many of you know, am an Evernote addict. But yeah, I like where this is going. A lot of people, as with anything, it's change. So change can be challenging, and I won't argue with anyone on that. But we're also in a society now where we're beginning to implement ourselves into what has been termed or considered as the new norm. And I know the new norm has been a conversation off and on, but in hindsight, when it comes down to just those simple things like having that convenience, it's helpful to not feel like your apps are going to look or feel different, but putting these apps all in that umbrella and making the workstation kind of makes it a one-stop shop. Which, going back to the Kiwi app that I was referring to, I'm hoping that more developers take note of finding ways to give you that, what I call one-stop shop. When I open up the Kiwi app for checking my email, and again, I'm not sponsored by Kiwi, so don't think I'm trying to get a check or deal with any copyright chaos with that. Using the Kiwi app, I can pretty much check out documents. I can check out Google Drive. I want to double check, because if I'm not mistaken, I think you can see all of those programs right here on this app. They have Google Drive, they have the Docs, they have the Sheets, and you have Slides. So you can open all of this right from this app. You can open your contacts. You can open, I've mentioned it earlier, Google Calendar. Even greater, and this is showing how much I don't use programs sometimes. They literally have an option that if you wanted to compose, you can just go right to the sidebar and it's already got it where, oh, you want to add a new task. Click on add a new, you can hit the plus and it'll give you the option to add a new task onto your calendar. And it's going to add to whichever tab you're on. So I have currently, because I'm using multiple emails, I have 6 tabs or 6 emails that I manage. But technically it's only 3 because 3 of them are email addresses that I previously was using, and the other 3 are my main email addresses that I'm checking constantly, nonstop. But having this feature, having this ability to just hit a plus option on the side and compose new messages is great. And this is probably going to be a early passive message or worthwhile pay it forward. If you are sending professional emails to people, or if you're sending emails in general, get in the habit of having a signature preset. And when I say having a signature preset, do not preset it in a third-party app per se. Have the signature be made through the app or the program itself. So if you're using Yahoo, find whatever program you're gonna find. And I matter of fact, I'm gonna do something because I'm in a very positive mood. I'm gonna mark this part of the show, and I'm gonna find, because it was a link that I found, or a place that I found, that you can pretty much make your own signatures. And I literally made a signature for each of my pages based on my email, based on, it has my email address, it has my website, it has my contact info, it has my name. If you want to, you can go as far as adding a picture. That way you're making your emails more intricate and more personal, because now with us being in a pandemic and with us being in this process of sending information to people, the average person gets hundreds, if not thousands, of emails a day. And I know a lot of you are going to probably be like, I don't believe it, but you would be surprised at how many emails could possibly get routed to you or are routed to you that you may not even come close to seeing a day in your life, because you've either blocked it or unsubscribed or whatever the case may be. So that's just something to look at and keep an eye out for, keep in mind with your management of programs. And I know I went on a bit of a random tangent, especially with talking about everything in regards to the Google Workspace, which like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's cool. I use if nothing else, I use Gmail and I use Google Calendar all the time. I'm going to work hard on using those other Google apps in the future. If any of you were or were not waiting for the game Cyberpunk 2077, looks like that game is being pushed back even more. It is now being pushed back to December 10th. It's being delayed to December 10th. The developer CD Projekt Red says it's still working on a launch day patch for the game, which is previously slated for November 19th. It attributes the delay partly to its multi-platform release, which will see the game launch across 2 generations of console hardware, PC, and Google Stadia. And that is a developer's challenge right now, because you have current gen, which is your Xbox One, your PlayStation 4s, and then you have your next gen, which is your Xbox One X and your PlayStation 5. And we're, in that ongoing battle with those systems. And I believe, I even have an Xbox One S technically, which I need to start playing more, because I just saw like a transaction hit to pay for the infamous Xbox Live, and I have not been gaming like I like to, and I don't like it, but that's another story. The biggest challenge for us right now is shipping the game on current gen, next gen, and PC at the same time, which requires us to prepare and test 9 versions of it. We need to make sure everything works well and every version runs smoothly. We're aware it might seem unrealistic when someone says 21 days can make any difference in such a massive and complex game, but they really do. And this was Cyberpunk did post a tweet on yesterday in regards to this. The game has already the game officially went gold in early October, and developers promised that no more delays are happening. The release version is still finished, but they've been developing further updates for the day of the game release. It's one of the most highly anticipated games of 2020, but with the latest delay, it's going to be just squeaking in at the end of this year, which in layman's terms is the battle of possibility of game of the year. It's only October, but we're likely going to hear about it next month. It's going to be intriguing to see what game gets game of the year. One game that I hope gets tooted or gets recognition as a good game is Fall Guys. I think Fall Guys got a lot of recognition. Among Us has been a game that's been out for a while that I think a lot of people didn't know, but hey, here we are. And yeah, that's kind of the ins and outs of the Cyberpunk 2077 game. I guess you can call this a music story, and I was looking at articles, and this one kind of just came up on my breakdown and looking and checking out what's been going on. Twitch and the music industry battling. No surprise, because anytime you're dealing with copyright and you're dealing with music, you're gonna run into this. Amazon received a blistering letter yesterday. A blistering letter yesterday about copyright infringement and Twitch's non-existent licensing deals with major music rights holders, Variety reports. The letter was signed by organizations including the Recording Industry Association of America, or RIAA, the Recording Academy, the National Music Publishers Association, the American Association of Independent Music, SAG-AFTRA, and more. The document accuses Twitch of allowing streamers to play copyrighted music without getting the proper licensing to do so. Music copyright is a thorny, complicated subject. If you want to play music to audiovisual content, you need at least 2 different licenses to do it legally: a synchronization license and a mechanical license. Twitch appears to do nothing in response to the thousands of notices of music infringement that it has received, nor does it currently even acknowledge that it received them, as it has done in the past. The letter reads in part, according to Variety. About a week ago, Twitch sent out a notice informing thousands of streamers that they had infringed copyright and that the platform was deleting the offending videos. The letter to Amazon appears to be the next step by the RIAA in a campaign to make a case that Twitch isn't abiding by the terms of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which governs copyright online, and that could open it up to be sued for copyright claims. There is a precedent for this. Media companies sued YouTube between 2007 and 2009 on the same grounds, which led to the creation of a content fingerprinting system the company still uses to root out copyright infringement. Reading this is going to make a lot of sense to most of you all, but in layman's terms, copywriting is a big deal. I have done podcasting for 5 years, and I can say, thankfully, that none of my shows have been pulled for anything copyright related. I always make sure, and it's probably, I a lot of times I share it being funny, but I'm also serious in presenting. And I may start doing, and I've had someone mention this to me before, that I have an intro that points out, we do not own the rights to any music or any audio or any video content shared during this podcast. And I've said that in a mild yet funny term, but the reality is you don't want a business to come after you for something of that magnitude that is not worth you losing, things on your platform that could be profiting. It's a big deal. Like in my podcast, even down to, and this was, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, before I had Tanya do her intro and outro for the show, I was working with not Grimecraft. I think no, I take it back. It was Grimecraft. Grimecraft, I was able to get permission to use his audio for my podcast, and I made sure for legality, for legal purposes, that it's not used without the party knowing, hey, I'm using your audio. Is that okay? Because if you don't do that, or if you have it come back and bite you in the ass, there's no way of bouncing back from that. And so I just, because you want to make sure that you keep your platform and you keep your brand intact, you do the right thing. I'm bringing it to myself, but tying Twitch into it, because Twitch is very freestylish with what and how they do things. A legitimate example of this is you have different streaming programs such as lo-fi music. You had a Study Girl. You have, Monster Cat. You have different channels that just play music all day long. And I'm going to go on a limb that those pages have it up there to say, we are Monster Cats. We support Monster Cat. It's allowed to be played. It's no copyright, anything of that sort. But hopefully Twitter is able to resolve and get this squared away and under wraps, so it doesn't affect streamers or creators on their platform. We're going to do a somewhat AirPod escape or musical escape, and I'll, talk about a few things and we'll close out. Is this a new album? Okay, so it's a new album. Major Lazer has a new album that I need to check out, apparently, because I didn't even realize it existed. I listened to some of Ty Dolla's album featuring Ty Dolla $ign. It's not bad, and I'm saying it because I know how my music ear is. It's not for me right now. I haven't really been as attached to listening to as much music as I normally do. And part of it is because I've been doing other things, trying to get other stuff in other quote unquote balls rolling, action occurring, things of that sort. And I'm assuming, Gorillaz has a new album called Song Machine Season 1 Strange Times. That is probably a pretty awesome album that I'm going to check out soon. I talked about it already. If you have not listened to the song by her called Damage, please check it out. It came out last Wednesday. She also dropped another single called, and I should have it because I actually have been playing it a little bit. When I first heard it, I kind of was like, I don't know if this is it for me, but I gave it another chance, and it wasn't like it wasn't that bad of a song. The new song is called Hold On. Hold On is pretty cool. I've been kind of getting nostalgic a little bit with music. I've been listening to more classical, old school songs, and that's just kind of been the wave I'm on. But I will be, today's Wednesday, so this Friday, I'll likely be getting back to my true listening queue where my speaker is just frozen to the ground and just has to take these songs and know that I'm here to jam and play it out. So that is where I'm at, and that's the wave that I'm on, and I'm going to give you all a message to leave with for today and for the week. And this week's message is kind of simple. And I'm really, a lot of times it's not even that I'm recycling thoughts, because I'll share with you all, because y'all know I'm making my goal to try to be pretty upfront and pretty transparent with what I share or how I share things. I usually do a weekly quote to my friends, and the quote is pretty simple. No one will ever get why you're in the midst of something better than you. That's why you were put in the midst of it, to face it head on. Everyone will give their thoughts, views, and beliefs, but until you see it for what it is, others' input won't matter as much as you allow it to. In layman's terms and in the simplest form, we're all trying to find our own way to do the right thing. There's no right way to do the wrong. I mean, there's no one specific way to do the right thing or to do a said thing. I always give people tips and tricks on podcasting. As you record and get into it, you find your way to do podcasting that works to your advantage. You find your platform that works to hold your podcast. I've even had people who mention, and I'm still learning it and figuring out how to share or have your own podcast without using a host. There are always different ways of doing things. You just have to know how to do it and not feel boxed into just, there's only one way this has to be done. That is why they have multiple podcast outlets. That is why they have multiple blogging outlets. Like a lot of people, when you think of blogs, the first thing people automatically go to is WordPress. Wix can technically be used as a blogging site. You can make a Wix page just to blog. You can use Blogger. Like I was a Blogger guy for the longest time. But you have to find your way, and you have to take time and really knowing your direction and your avenue to get what you're trying to get done. And others are going to see or get that, but you got to be okay with your decision on doing it. It's better that you get more credit or more accolade for doing or attempting something than doing absolutely nothing. And I've seen the latter occur a lot, where a person will do absolutely nothing and then wonder why they didn't get the results. If I don't get up, get in the shower, and get my day started, then I can't put anyone else. I have no ability to put anyone else at fault for that, because that's me not taking responsibility or taking ownership for what I should be doing. Right? So that is what this all entails in saying you have your choice or your options to do what you think is in your best interest. But if you do nothing, you can't be mad at your consequences either. Those are my words I'm going to leave with you all today. I definitely appreciate the journey. I value the time and the effort that's going into this. We will have a new show next week. The new show should be next next Thursday. We're going to definitely unpack and talk about life and what has been going on in the sports, music, tech, gaming world, things of that nature. But until next time, this is The Past. I am your host, BET, and we will be back with yet another episode. Y'all take it easy. Really appreciate all the support, all the listens, all the likes, all the effort that goes into anyone who has provided any form of content for The Past. We're signing out now, but you definitely don't want to miss what's in store for the upcoming episode. If you are interested in getting more information or becoming a podcaster, you can check out buzzsprout.com. And the microphone that you are hearing me use is the Blue Yeti X. I had been using a Yeti for a while. I went back to the Samson Meteor, but now I'm using the Blue Yeti X, which is everything. Trust me. All social medias, The Past BT Pod. That's THE Pass, as in pass the ball. BT is my initials. Pod. And finally, if you are a creator and you want to support a fellow creator, subscribe, like, and comment on The Past. Until next time, this is your host BT signing out.